Hey everybody, what's up? I am Aaron KJ Marcus, and this is episode 2 of Bad Advice from a Well-Intentioned Friend. This is an extension of my Substack, Almost in Between Tomorrow. Today's theme is how to stay creative when the world around you is an absolute dumpster fire. Now, if that feels a little clickbaity or overly dramatic, I have to ask you, is it really? And to be clear here, I'm not talking about your personal life. I'm talking about the gong show of political goons, algorithmic exhaustion, AI slop, whatever other historic event can be stuffed into this clown car of a timeline. Isn't bird flu back too? Like seriously, what the fuck? Amidst all of that, it's hard enough to think straight, let alone create something or feel like there is any purpose in doing so. But it's times like this when creativity is needed more than ever. Or put another way, it's times like this when you are needed more than ever. If you've started to feel like your art is pointless, or that everything you make has to scream politics just to feel relevant, or that there's no space for softness in a world that's getting harder, well, this one's for you, so let's dive right in. Alright, the first question. My brain has been hijacked by headlines and hot takes. My inner monologue is now a hellscape of social media snark. How am I supposed to create anything beautiful when I'm being conditioned into a state of Perma-Rage? Well, as I said in episode 1, one of your gifts, or maybe it's a curse, as a creative person is that you absorb everything like a gigantic flesh sponge. You soak up the world around you, which is beautiful when the world is beautiful, but a mess when the world is what it is today. Especially if the way you interact with and understand the world is mediated by online content. These days, the content most of us consume is drenched in outrage, fear, despair, and trolling. A lot of trolling. Stuff that is designed specifically to piss you off and keep you locked in. Eventually, we hit a tipping point. We're no longer just absorbing it, we're fully saturated. And one of the first things to drown is the heart. When that goes, so does creativity, beauty, authenticity. So how do you stop that from happening? Well, in my experience, it starts with attention. If you're like me, you're probably giving your attention to the lowest, most shameless bidder in the marketplace. Rage bait, brain rot, content engineered to hijack your nervous system with fear, disgust, and morbid curiosity. Now, pretend that content was a living person. If I asked you to draw that person, I bet they'd look like a fucking sleazebag. In my mind, it's a dude at the park wearing a baseball cap, sunglasses, and a beige trench coat. Oddly enough, at the bottom, I can see bare legs, white socks, and running shoes. Is he wearing shorts under the coat? Of course not. He's a dirty perv and he's about to flash me. If that were a real guy, I'd leave and I'd call the cops. But when it's content, I just sit there and get flashed. Over and over. In fact, I drive to the park to get flashed. That's a choice I'm making. And I dare say it's a choice we're making. So let's protect our creativity and our sense of beauty by first resisting the allure of whichever pair of balls is thrust into our face. Let's not be so easily hypnotized by them. Instead, let's direct our attention to things that will reward us, not haunt us. Send a text to a friend, cook something, read a book, make a thing, walk your dog. Focus on something outside the algorithm. Remind your nervous system that beauty still exists off-screen, and it's not behind a paywall or screaming at you in all caps. But let me also be clear on this. This isn't a call to ignorance. This isn't just, well, log off and be mindful. The world is absolutely in a tough spot, and we need people, especially artists, to stay aware. We need voters who are paying attention, not tuning out. You can't make informed decisions about your life or your community if your head's buried in the sand. But you also don't need to gorge on doom just to prove that you care. Obsessing doesn't make you a better citizen or artist, it just makes you exhausted. So be aware, but not obsessed. Be informed, but not enraged. Take back your attention, be deliberate with it, make good art. All right, on to question number 2. Is it possible to make meaningful art without turning it into a protest sign? Do I have to pick a side, make a statement, or tackle some giant issue just to justify my art's existence? Or is that pressure itself part of the problem? Oh man, I feel this one for sure. If you've ever read anything I've written on Substack, you know I write about some frivolous shit. But what sounds silly is that it actually took me a long time to give myself permission to do that, to be that unserious. How about you? Do you ever feel like if your art isn't confronting injustice or saying fuck you to someone or something, that it's just not worth doing? Like this story should denounce capitalism. This haiku stands in solidarity. My clay pot is an act of resistance. Well, if your clay pot is fighting back, that's awesome. Political art, protest art, urgent art, these are all vital. They always have been, and I'm not here to say otherwise. But not everything needs to carry the weight of the world either. And if you're someone who struggles with that pressure, let's get you out of that trap. And yeah, it's a trap. It seems noble, like why waste time on anything but politics when politics feels like it's everything? But unless you're naturally wired to channel that stuff, the pressure to make big, important statements can actually shut you up. You second guess yourself. You edit yourself before you even begin. You start chasing other people's sense of importance and you abandon your own. This trap is where creativity and joy go to die. Meaning doesn't only live in slogans or stances. It lives in honesty and connection, in weird little details. So that story you wrote about a squid who wanted to sing the blues in a dive bar, but he had to overcome his squidness before he could duet with BB King? That's incredible. You gotta put it out there. You don't have to pick a side in every piece of art, but you do have to show up. And you're not going to want to if you're forcing yourself to be something you're not. So give yourself permission to play. Let your art be silly. It doesn't need to save the world, but it does deserve to be seen by it. All right, last question. We are on to number 3. It's all well and good to say, okay, you do you when it comes to art. But let's be honest, I don't want to just scream into the void. I want to connect with people. I want to matter. And these days, everyone seems to want the heavy stuff, the hot take, the outrage. So in a world on fire, are my weird little stories just for me? Am I just jerking off here? I mean, what the hell am I doing? Okay, that's a fair point. Let's tie some things together here. We started by talking about how hard it is to stay creative when your brain has been hijacked by fear, anxiety, and headlines. Then we moved into the pressure to make quote unquote important art because the times are so fraught and politicized, and that's where the culture is. And now we land here, and you're perhaps thinking, okay, fine. I'll write the story about the fucking squid playing the blues, but you and I both know that it's not going to matter to anyone. It's pure self indulgence. We may as well be talking about art therapy here. Okay, well, maybe that's true. Maybe it is a little like art therapy. But since when is that a bad thing? If your art helps you to stay sane, if it helps preserve your emotional integrity in a world doing its best to rip you apart, then yeah, I guess it is therapeutic. But that's not self indulgent, that's self preserving. And not just for you. Because when you make something honest, something small, strange, and unique, it resonates. Even if it's not loud, right? Like, even if it's not trending on all the pages that you want to trend on, even if it only reaches one person, that's still a connection and it matters. Honestly, that's pretty much all I hope for with this podcast or my little Substack. You know, we live in a culture so obsessed with scale. If it doesn't reach thousands, it's not blowing up, then it's seen as a failure. But you and I are not ad campaigns. We're human beings making art. Our job isn't to go viral, it's to be honest. There's also something seriously badass, a little punk even, about choosing sincerity in a time of sarcasm and irony. Joy in a time of anger. It's defiant, it's asymmetrical. I love that word asymmetrical, it sounds so smart. But it also has a shit ton of power for those whose creative sensibilities go against the grain of the moment. In the context of this discussion, acting in an asymmetrical way means you're not matching the world's energy. You're offering an alternative. You're giving people a break and a box of chocolates when the world is serving up nothing but shit sandwiches. Okay, now bear with me for a second because I'm going to go back to that squid example. I know I'm working this little guy hard, but he's up for it. That ridiculous blues playing squid singing about his third divorce and what else? His kids not talking to him. That might be the thing that made someone feel less alone. It gave them a smile. It reminded them that there's other weirdos out there whose hearts long for something more than just anger and depression and chaos put on a loop. And if you manage to connect with one person, you can be certain there are many others out there to connect with too. An entire community that would benefit just from you being you. That's not masturbatory. That's art as a service to others. More importantly, that's not a frivolous distraction from the crises around us. It's a response to it. And if, at the end of the day, for some reason, nobody else ever sees your work, and it truly is just for you, then fuck it. What a beautiful gift to have given yourself. Be proud of it. Someone out there needs it, even if that someone is you. All right. Well, look, that's a wrap for today's episode. Our theme was how to stay creative when the world around you is an absolute dumpster fire. And let's bring this beast home. We talked about real challenges and real solutions, things like reclaiming your attention, letting go of pressure to make important capital A art, and resisting the outrage machine, not by matching its energy, but by doing your own thing as an act of defiance and maybe connection with like minded people. The world's not going to change overnight. We know that. But you can do your part to help it change over time by protecting your creativity and producing work that only you can. Okay, I'll stop rambling on. But this has been bad advice from a well intentioned friend. And I'm Aaron KJ Marcus. You can find more of my writing over at Almost In Between Tomorrow on Substack. And until next time, be kind to yourself. We need you here.